Hey guys, welcome back. So this is another tutorial on Node.js using the sequelize ORM. We have just finished up authentication. I am so glad to be done with that, but we're not quite done with user identification. And I don't know about you, but oh my God, I am ready to get back to actually building this application. I feel like we've been spending forever on user authentication. I know that it's a big part of any application, so it makes sense that we would have to spend so much time on it. But I am ready to get back to the actual courses and videos and setting things up for the actual project. But you know, so now that we have authentication, we want to put something in place that will identify who users are. Because if you remember, I don't even know if I still have. Okay, if you remember, a long time ago, we created this piece of middleware that says each request that comes through will have a rec.user if the user is logged in. And then we want to identify who that user is, right? Remember that we said this like a million years ago before we started doing passport stuff? This is one of the middlewares that will be used to determine API access and who should be able to do what. So let's go into app.js and we're going to include this. Now, obviously, we need to include it after our passport stuff because we want to make sure that this person is logged in if they can be logged in and that they have that rec.user thing assigned to them. So we want to do it after our passport. We're going to just do this. So user identification. And let's say app.use. Okay. And then we're just going to say require. And this is, where is that file kept? I don't even know where it is anymore. That's how long ago. Okay, so this is in middleware. So my own tutor middleware. All right. So app.js require dot middleware and then user identification. Okay, so this means that every request is going to pass through this user identification, and when it does, it's going to say who is this user. So if rec.user is set, now I think this is going to be equal to a user ID, but we'll have to make sure. So we'll test that in just a second. If we have a user ID, it's going to find this user, and then it's going to attach rec.user permission to that rec request. So let's save this real quick now that we have it implemented, and we're going to put a breakpoint at this line number 4. So, I closed Google Canary, and then let's find that file. So we're going to find it's in middleware and user identification. And let's break right here. All right, and then let's send this request. Oh God, yeah, that's not gonna, hold on. Cancel. All right, let's delete this random string of gobbledygook here. And now let's send this request. If you're still using Postman, feel free to do that. All right, so now we're going to say, is there a rec.user? Rec.user is equal to a model. Okay, so we have the entire model available to us, not just that. So let's go into here then, and we're going to change this to rec.user return rec.user.id because we don't want the whole rec.user. We just want the user ID. So we'll save that. Yep. Okay, here it is. So now we have rec.user, so if user ID, and user ID is now equal to that. We really don't need to find this user, I guess. I don't know. Because I've written this before and I wrote it exactly like this. So something tells me that there was a reason that I wrote it like this before when I've done this in other apps. But I suppose we could just... Okay. Oh god, it's coming through multiple times. Insomnia is just like, I'm going to send it again and again and again. All right, so now we're going to say rec.equals user.permission ID. So this is... I'm going to leave it like that for now. All right, so now that we know that this is working and every request is going to have a rec.user permission, we're going to create some middleware or some access blockers, if you want to call it that. So in our middleware folder, we're going to create a couple of files. All right, so now that it's loaded, if we look at data flow, and I think it's not page 4, let's look at page 3. It's page 2? All right, it's page 2. If we look at data flow, we've seen here that we were originally going to have admins that could do things that students couldn't. I've actually changed this up. So we're going to have a third layer, but we're actually not going to take the layered approach anymore. So this is layered security, where admins can do some things that students can't. But we're going to create another group, and I'm going to call this group curators. So as I was kind of thinking about how I want this app to curators, is that how you spell that? I don't know. As I was thinking about how I want this app to function, I'm not a master or an expert in every freaking subject. Can you imagine if I was? I wouldn't be. I'd be a millionaire. So I'm not a master in every freaking subject, and I'm probably going to want to outsource some of what I do to a group, some of what admins can do to a group, right? But this group kind of sits like this. So now we have these two different bubbles. There's going to be this admin who can do everything, and then there's these two groups inside of the admin. So we have students and we have curators. Curators aren't capable of doing everything an admin is capable of, but they're also not capable of doing everything a student is capable of, and vice versa. A student can't do everything an admin can, but they also can't do everything a curator can. So let's explain what these roles are. We have the students who are viewing courses and going through them, and we have the admin who is creating courses and adding videos and stuff like that. A curator is kind of an admin in the sense that they can probably add videos, but I don't want them to have the ability to modify courses. So imagine if I wanted to open a course on US history or I don't know, environmental science or something like that. I'm not an expert in those areas. I couldn't possibly make good video content in those areas. So if I wanted to pay someone to make that video content for me, I need a way for them to access the site so they can add videos, but I don't want them to be able to add those to courses. I don't want them to be able to structure courses. I don't want them to be able to remove videos from courses, anything like that. So they're not admins, but they also shouldn't be able to go through a course and watch the videos and do everything a student can, because the whole purpose of a curator has nothing to do with how a student flows through this. So when we stop using layered security, where one layer exists outside of another, like an onion, and we start using this, we're kind of getting into, I don't know what this is called specifically, but I would call this something like group security. But either way, the way we've set things up and the way we will use our API access is still makes this very easy. We've actually set it up so that security from this point on becomes really easy to handle. And let me show you how we're going to do that. So in our middleware file, we're going to create two new JavaScript files. The first is going to be called block student. Okay, and the second file we will call block curator. Oop. So block curator. All right, so we'll call this one block curator. Now, what these are simply going to do is these are pieces of middleware that we can put in front of APIs that set or API routes, and they're going to check what your permission ID is. So remember that we're attaching this rec.user permission to every request. So we can put these in front of a route and say, check or look at what this user permission is. And if it's not a certain thing or if it's not a certain level, then you do not get to have access to this route. Okay, so this is going to annoy me. All right, so block student will look something like this. We are going to return a function, so module.exports equals, and this is going to take in a rec, res, and next. Okay. And then inside of this function, we're going to write, remember that we have this rec object, so if rec dot permission ID is equal, and students are level 2, or level 1, sorry, right? Let's look at our database. Let's make sure before we do this. So permission, so students are level 2, not level 1. So if students are level 2, if rec.permission ID equals 2, return res.status 403.json, and I'm going to say message, or no, let's say error, and forbidden. Okay, otherwise, call next. Oop, and make sure to include this in parentheses. Okay, so what this is saying is that if I am a student, if my permission ID equals 2, then I want to return res.status 403.json error forbidden. Okay, and then I'm going to copy all of this, and we're going to go into block curator, and we're going to hit paste, and I'm going to change this to be equal to 3. So let's create a new permission in here called curator. So we'll say 3, not 33, 3. And we're in the permissions table right now. I'm going to call this guy curator. And we'll say 2019-4- what is today, the 8th? The 7th? 7, 04-07, and then let's just say 00, comma 00, comma 00. Okay, copy that, and I'm going to put that in updated at as well, and hit apply. So that's going to create our new curator permission. And like I said, in here, we're saying if your permission ID equals 3, then you are not allowed to see this route. Now we're actually going to create one final middleware. And this is going to not be a block, but it's going to be called admin access. Okay, and let's pass this. So we're going to I forgot that we copied that. So let's copy everything inside of the curator, block curator. Okay. Now, this is actually going to require us to shift around our permission table a little bit, because right now you'll see, well, actually, no, we don't have to shift around because we have our admin on the very top. So what I'm about to do requires, I don't know how you have your database set up, but what I'm about to do requires that the admin level be either the greatest ID or the least ID. So to give an admin access, or to ensure that something has admin access, I'm going to say if rec.permission is less than 2. So if it's less than 2, meaning that it's 1, then I know that I'm an admin and I can call next, right? So we're going to say admin access. This is I kind of named this poorly. So what we want to do is flip this around then. So we're not going to say less than 2. We'll say greater than 1. And that means that anything I put this in front of, if I am not an admin, you do not have access. So this is kind of like a blanket. Nuh-uh. As in, only admins are allowed to access it. I guess I could call it like block all but admin, but I'm going to call it admin access. So only an admin is allowed to access whatever has this particular piece of middleware in front of it. Okay? This blocks both of them. The reason that I want to create this is that I don't want to have block student and block curator in front of certain routes if I know that an admin is supposed to have access to it. Instead, I just want to have one single piece of middleware that can do both of these things. The only time I'm going to use like block student is if I want both the curator and the admin to have access to it. So if I do block student, the curator is still going to be able to access it, and the admin is going to be able to access it as well. If I did this, then neither of these guys would be able to access it. Okay? So with these 3 pieces of information in place, we can now block off our create user route, because we don't want our curators or our students to have the ability to create new users. So let's go into, I believe it's our user service, or not user service, user gateway, and see how we would do this. So let's create another section here, and I'm going to call this API access modifiers. Okay, and let's say const block, let's see here, block curator. Actually, let's start with admin. So admin access equals require up middleware, and admin access. Okay, const block curator equals require up to middleware and block curator. And then const block student equals require middleware and then block student. All right, so now we have this route here, this route.post, where we don't want anyone but the admin to have access to it. So this is how easy this now becomes. Literally, all I have to do is do admin access, just like that. And with one word, I have now blocked off this route to anyone except the admin. And I want you to think about how specific, how many types of users you could have, and how granular you could become about who has access to what routes at this point. This gives you an immense amount of control over what users are capable of doing what and seeing what. And believe me when I say that this will speed things up for your development process a huge amount. Okay, you could even create different levels of admin access. So if you did at some time in the future want to create different types of admins, for instance, an admin who can do one thing and an admin who can do another. So maybe one admin is only capable of reading certain files and another admin is only capable of writing certain files. You can actually do that simply by modifying this table. So as long as their permissions are very explicit, we have an admin who would be capable of reading and an admin who's capable of writing, you can create different blockers or accessors that allow them to access different routes. All right, so now that this is all in place, let's actually try to create a new user. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of my sessions. So let's delete this session. Okay, and now I'm going to try to create a user. So I have to try and remember this because I don't have Postman open. It's a post route and it's a user. So user and then slash. And then let's see what it gives me back. So I need a first name, a last name. So first name. And let's say my first name is, I've been watching the show The Magicians a lot. So let's go with, I need someone that I actually know, Elliot. And then we'll say my last name is equal to whoa. And then my email is going to be fabulous at breakbills.com. Okay, and then my permission ID would be a student. Let's make sure. So looking at permissions. All right, student. All right, so first name, last name, email, permission ID, username, and password. This should be everything I need. So if I hit first, let's actually put some breakpoints in here. So let's say file middleware, because I want to see it go through this. So here we have admin access. Let's put a breakpoint there. Curator access. Let's put a breakpoint there. And user block student access. All right. So now let's Control Enter to do this. And we see that admin access was triggered. So what is my rec.permission ID? According to this, it's undefined. Which, oh, what did I call it? I bet I didn't call it permission ID. I called it user permission. All right, so let's go back in and change that. What were they? So block student, we want user permission. And block curator, change this to user permission. And block admin access, change this to user permission. Save that. Let's cancel that request. Let this play out. All right, go to Insomnia, post this thing. We're going to see it hit. So now we see that rec. Okay, what's going on? Rec.user permission, where is it? So we have rec.user. So I don't even see a rec.user. Oh, and yeah, of course, I wouldn't. Okay, I'm not logged in. So if we look at user identification, it's going to look for a rec.user, but I'm not logged in, so it's going to set user ID to null. If there is no user ID, then it's going to do just click next. So if I hit play, we're going to see that I get something back. There we go. Oh, well, first it's going to, ooh. Hold horses. Error username test student 1 is already taken. How did this get past that? Please hold. All right, so if rec.dot is... Okay, I see where it is. So what we're going to say is for admin access, if rec.user permission is less than, or sorry, greater than 1, or, so we need an or here, or, actually, let's do the or first. That way we can just break real quickly. So if not equal rec.user permission or. Okay. So now let's do this in all of them because you have to be logged in. The last time I created a app doing this, I required that you were logged in to even access these routes. But all right, so let's do that. Press play. And let's actually just change the student, a username and password while we're at it so that this can, once we do actually have the ability to do this, it just runs right through. So we'll hit Control that and let it play out. We'll hit admin access. So this is undefined. We hit play and we go back here and we see error forbidden. All right, 403 forbidden. Awesome. So we're good. Now if we log in, it apparently did not save. It's rude of it. All right, so let's copy all of this so I don't have to rewrite it again. And we're going to log in as me. So I don't think we actually can log in as me because there is no admin user. All right, hold on. There's no admin user right now that will work with what we have. If we recall, so if we go back to the users table and look at the users we have, there is an admin user. However, their password is not going to work with this. So what we can do is we could create a new user. I'm not going to do that. But instead, what I'm going to do, so I have this saved here somewhere. All right. So if you go to browserling.com tools bcrypt, there is actually a bcrypt password generator for us. So let's type in, I'm just going to make my password admin pass, and then go through 10 salt rounds. Make sure that this rounds is equal to the amount of salt rounds you have in your code. Okay, so then we'll copy this. So all copy. And what we want to do is go into our database, and where you have this admin pass for that admin user we created a while ago, just paste in that password and hit apply. So now when our bcrypt tries to decrypt or re-encrypt our password when we log in, we'll actually be able to. So now let's add a new request. We'll call this login as admin Kyle. Okay, we'll change it to a post, localhost, :3000 \auth. And then we're going to say that the body is JSON. Okay. We'll say our username is admin. What is our username? Let's see here. My username is admin user. So username admin user, and then password. Admin underscore pass. All right, let's go ahead and run this. Oh, and it says I'm unauthorized, which means I did something wrong. Let's see here. Admin user, correct. I wonder if it's the password that's not making it through. So let's look at passport and see if it's because it's not getting a match. So control. Match equals false. What did it, so let's see what it's passing for my password. But we do see that we are getting the 401 unauthorized if we try to put in a password that it doesn't recognize. So I wonder, did I hit apply? Yes. Okay. So password is admin pass, and I believe that is what I had put in. Correct? Oh, underscore or under lowercase. All right, so let's cancel that request and do A and P. Notice that this is case sensitive, so in the future, just have that in mind. Okay, so now we're going to log in. Control Enter. All right, it logged me in. So now if I try to create this new user, Elliot Woe, we should see it pass through the admin access. Do we have a breakpoint? We do. Alrighty then, so after some vigorous following through of Passport, I finally figured out what's happening. It's not Passport. Passport is calling next, but guess what? We don't have a next declared. So the router just ends. So in our user identification file, let's make sure that if we do find this user, at some point we are actually calling the next function. Otherwise, we won't move on. So let's call next there, click save, and now we should actually be able to run through this. Forgive me, I have a lot of breakpoints in place now, so when I actually try and log in, you're going to see me have to step through Passport's inner workings, and I will remove the breakpoints as I find them. So send. Come on. There we go. All right, so if error, we don't need this, and we don't need this. Next. All right, let's get rid of all of these. In fact, let's just go down here. I don't want to get rid of all of the breakpoints though. So line 12, so auth routes. So passport, let's get rid of you and you and you and you and you. All right, so hit play. And this is where I figured out that we don't have next invoked. So if paused. All right, so now it's going to call all of these and hit play. Awesome. So user identification, we can do that. So now admin access. So right. So we should be logged in here, right? I want to use this. I don't want to use Postman. So copy this, go into here, log in as Kyle. So in login as Kyle admin. We're going to put this in here and make this an auth request. Control enter. Don't think I have any breakpoints anymore. Are you serious? You're not going to work? Why? Control enter. Post localhost. Okay, so now you work. I don't understand this. Okay, so now we have my request. We try to do this. So control enter. We should see it break us at admin access. Thank God. Okay, so rec.user permission equals 1. So if it's greater than 1, it's going to return forbidden. But so let's actually highlight this. This is a really cool thing that you can do. So we see that this is false. Okay, so this is going to be false. And let's see here, this is false. Yep, so we'll call next. And we should have a new user returned to us. Just like that, we now have a new user, Elliot Woe, in our system. So if I refresh the user table, I should see Elliot Wow, or Woe, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, and he has everything that he needs there. So if I were to log in now as a student, so I don't actually have a log out. We will need to create a logout. That'll probably be the next video I make, because I feel like this user authentication is just never ending at this point. If we go into sessions and we delete all of our sessions, which will essentially log us out. And now if I log in as the test student from before, so I don't know if I remember the credentials. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's create a new request. So log in as student. And we want a body of JSON. Username. I don't remember. Password. I know they were the same, so that's the only good thing there. I think it's test student 1, right? Do we have it in here? Did I save it? Let's try this. Body. Way down here, maybe. Body. Down here. Here. Way back here. There it is. Test student 1. Okay. So we'll log in as test student 1. Post localhost :3000 /auth. And log in. All right, so I'm successfully logged in. My permission ID is 2, meaning I'm a student. So now if I try to create a student, I should get a big fat, you are not allowed to do this. So we'll let this run. And good. I'm forbidden from doing that. We officially have everything in place. Oh my god, this feels so good to be done with this. All right, you know what? Let's just knock it out. We're gonna do it in a new video, but I'm gonna do it right now. So I'll see you in the next video. We're going to go through how to log a person out. I'll see you there. Bye.
You said that you needed me like a car.